All right, so this video is going to be about happiness. Happiness is a chemical. So we already talked about the chemical U or whatever. And some of you have probably noticed me say happiness is a chemical many times on my Facebook statuses because I try to keep that out there so people can remember it. Or maybe ask me about it or whatever so I can talk about it. But basically, happiness is a chemical. It is not a, it's not really a state of being. Not really. Um, what most people are actually searching for is gratitude, not happiness. Gratitude is more of a state of being than it is feeling or a chemical. Happiness is a chemical. But happiness is a chemical that you release. The chemical comes from you and makes you feel happy. The same thing that makes you happy can make you sad. If you have the thing, it makes you happy. When you don't have it, you interpret that as a reason to be sad. So through your interpretation, the chemical is released. If you change the way that you see life, you change the interpretation. I remember one day, at the time, I would say, or I would still actually say, God said to me, but I guess I looked at it as a different God then. But there was a time when God said to me that He said, I know the concept, but it was basically like you can't change this. Oh, if you change the way you see the circumstance changes. Or something like it was along those lines. Like in order for the circumstance to change, you have to change the way that you see the circumstance. And I was like, wow, that makes perfect sense. Because when you change the way you see the circumstance, at this time I wasn't thinking that, but then it later, adding this on, when you change the circumstance, you change the way you interpret it. So you change a different chemical. There's a different chemical reaction. So you feel differently about the situation, totally different about the situation. For example, I like to use the story of Joseph and his brothers. At one point in time, it was all wrong what they were doing to him, and then once he saw why it was happening, then he felt justified by it. He felt that it was a good thing. You know what I'm saying? He said that you plotted evil, but God plotted good. So he changed the way that he saw the circumstance, and it changed what the circumstance was. Even though it was the exact same circumstance, it was two different perspectives. The circumstance was Joseph being betrayed by his brothers, being sold into slavery, being lied on so that he was then in prison, and then being left in prison by a person he helped be free or told would be free, being left in prison for 2 years, and then finally being released and being rewarded after he had already been shown that he would be a ruler. So it didn't make sense the entire time. That didn't make sense. I'm supposed to be a ruler. That's what God showed me. I'm gonna be a ruler. My brothers are supposed to bow down to me, not betray me. This doesn't make any sense. All this stuff in between doesn't make any sense. These circumstances are ill for me. They're not good for me. And then one day he's like, oh, and everything makes perfect sense. And while his brothers have a perspective of what they did to their brother was so wrong, so mean, please don't kill us or want to kill us and all these types of things. God is like, I need this to happen. I need this young, arrogant boy to tell his jealous brothers how this is going to happen, what will happen so that they are then enticed to sell him at this time, and I need this man to be in the field so that when he walks through the field, because he can't find his brothers, he can point out where they now are so that he can be betrayed at the precise time when the Midianites are coming through so that he can be sold into slavery so that the Midianites can take him to Egypt, sell him to Potiphar, who has a unfaithful wife who will then make an advance on him because he is very handsome, and he, being the person that he is, will flee from her, but his boss, being the person that he is, will believe her so that he will then be put in prison where he can meet the person who will remember him 2 years later and speak of him because he could interpret dreams, which is the reason he was there in the first place, interpreting the dream, telling it to the wrong people. You know what I mean? All those things play a part. So it's like, what is the circumstance? Is it good or is it bad? Some people actually want the circumstance to change in order for it to be good. And that's their interpretation. And because of that, they'll never be able to change this chemical state that is not reality. The feeling is not reality. So if you change the perspective of what you see, that changes reality. It's just that simple. People literally want, in order for reality to change, the house to mold into a mansion. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm not saying that that can't happen. It doesn't have to be that way in order for this house to become a mansion. When you realize that this is the stepping stone that got you to the mansion, it is the mansion because the mansion couldn't exist without it. So it's like, you see what I'm saying? It's like Joseph being betrayed by his brothers. He couldn't have been who God showed him in the dream if that had not happened. And by them betraying him, they save a nation. So my point is, happiness is a chemical. It's based off your interpretation, and if once you realize that, you you become aware that you are responsible for your chemical state. You are responsible. No one else, because no one else can change your chemical state. You interpret it, just like uh, there is no light doesn't reach the brain. There is no light shining through my eyes to my brain to create the images that I see. It is an electrical signal that travels through a, bioelectrical cords, I guess you would say, to a place that interprets these bioelectrical signals and then gives me an image. So for all we know, we're only seeing a small fraction of what is actually out there to be observed. You know what I'm saying? Because there is light that we can't even that this computer can't interpret, so we don't see it. Imagine what type of sounds are out there that we can't interpret, so we don't hear them, or things that we can't interpret, so we don't feel them. Think about all those things, and we think we know what reality is. You know what I'm saying? It's like we base reality on what our senses tell us. That doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't make any sense to base reality on what our senses tell us when our senses, science has shown us that our senses are very limited. So it's like saying that anything outside of us can bring us happiness when everything that we experience as reality is a projection from within based off our interpretation. You see what I'm saying? So it's the exact same principle. So when you realize that you are responsible for the chemical state that is you. You are responsible for the chemical you. You are responsible for the mental you, the self image you. If that person doesn't feel love, it's because you don't love the self image. If that person doesn't feel happy, it's because you've interpreted your current situation as a reason not to be happy when at one point in time your current situation probably was a reason to be happy. And this came to me in meditation. It was one of the it's the reason why I should meditate every day, but I still don't at all, really at all. But it's the reason why I should meditate every day. So I went into meditation. I did the exact same thing. Talked about, and I'm gonna make a video on meditation. I went for the deepness. I went to interact or set my attention on consciousness, and I sunk deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's literally like uh, kicking back on a raft out in the ocean. You start off at the shore, kick back, look at the sky for a minute, and then look around and see where you are. You say, "Oh wow, okay, I'm kind of far out, near the deep, getting closer." Look back up at the sky, get lost in the clouds, come back. Oh, I can barely see land now. I'm almost where I want to be, and I just do it over and over again until you get to the place where you want to be, pretty much. So I get there, and basically, I'm having a conversation with. I don't know if it's my spirit guide, spiritual elder, my another fraction of my consciousness, speaking to me or whatever. But basically, it's not literally words, but it's concepts being given to me that my brain then gives words. So the concept comes. Uh, when you were with Michelle, it's like basically you bounced between two. I was bouncing back between two women, Michelle and Jen, at one point in time. At the current time, I was with Jessica. So I'm going back and forth with this. And it says basically when you were with Michelle, you were happy. I was like, correct. And then there was a time when you weren't, correct. Then you were with in the time that you weren't happy with Michelle, you thought you would find happiness in Jen. I was like, correct. And then when you went with Jen, you found happiness, correct. And then you found a reason not to be happy with Jen, correct. At that time, you found no reason to be happy with Jen. You then found a reason again to be happy with Michelle, correct. I said, correct. And then right then and there, it hit me with the concept. Well, if that's the case, do you clearly see now that it is you who determine whether to be happy or not happy? It wasn't the things outside of you that determined this. It was you that determined this situation makes me happy. Nah, this situation doesn't make me happy. As a matter of fact, it's this situation. Yeah, this situation makes me happy. Nah, this situation doesn't make me happy. I think this situation did make me happy. And the entire time it was actually me determining whether I was going to be happy or sad. And it like it basically blew my mind. And then I got up from that I got up from that a different person. And it I was so different that like that day I was so different. I mean, for a minute I was so different that she couldn't receive it. She didn't believe that I was actually that person. She thought that I was pretending. And the crazy thing about it was I wasn't trying to be. It just didn't make sense to be the other way anymore. My paradigm had changed, so everything else had to fall in line with it. It didn't make sense anymore to like be upset every day because I'm with that person because uh that doesn't help me at all. Like it doesn't help me to be upset. Why should I wake up in the morning and be upset about a circumstance that if I wanted to really change, I really could change it. But I didn't really want to change it. You know, if I'm not going to change the situation, then why bitch and complain about it? Why be upset? Why be those things if I'm in control of that? I can find a reason to be happy because at one point in time, this exact same person, flaws and all, made me happy, made me extremely happy. So it's like, oh, I'm the source of this. I'm the source of this happiness. It doesn't matter, you know, in a situation where, uh, like, not being any. It's so many different situations to interpret for a reason to be sad, but you determine that. So if you have the right to feel whatever you want to feel, why feel negative? You know what I'm saying? Happiness is a chemical that we induce based off of our interpretation. And it's as simple as you can become mad by thinking about something that makes you mad, or you can become happy by remembering a really great day, a really great positive memory. You can dwell there, you can live there, you can re experience it, and then be happy all over again. And that's not even what's really happening. But your mind doesn't know that, so you can experience it as if it is really happening because that's reality. Whatever you experience as real is reality. Reality is not some concrete, unmovable thing. This video is a little longer than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, happiness is a chemical created by you based off of your interpretations. Change your interpretations, change the chemical that is created. Thank you, folks. See you in the next video.